Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who last night went to the Armory in Rochester, New York to see the Playboi Carti concert. Here's a review of that King Vamp performance. I need you to know, I'm an old guy, okay? I'm in my mid-40s. I'm about twice as old as the median age of concertgoers I saw last night. And I've seen a lot of rap shows. I'm sad to say that even though rap music is probably my favorite genre, as far as concerts go, I've not seen very many concerts that I enjoyed. To that end, I would like to say that what I saw last night was a better time and a better live representation of the music and the artist than the following hip-hop concerts I have seen. The Wu-Tang Clan, NWA, Jay-Z, DMX, Lil Wayne, De La Soul, Eminem, Biz Markie, Ice's, Cube, and T, Cypress Hill, and 2 out of the 3 times that I've seen Kanye West. I would only put 2 rap concerts above this. The Public Enemy show I saw 30 years ago, and that first Kanye show in Toronto, where apparently he brought out Drake. But at that point, I paid so little attention to music, I didn't know who he was. It was totally lost on me. What's interesting about me saying this, not only the fact that I've had a hard time understanding why people listen to Playboi Carti at all, is that in a way, this concert and this tour is all of the worst parts of a rap show taken to their logical extreme. And in that extremity, it transcends a concert, it transcends a hip-hop show, and becomes a piece of performance art. Or perhaps in an even higher way, it becomes a communal experience which borderlines on the religious. I would say this concert was an anti-concert, filled with Playboi Carti's music, which I would consider to be anti-music. This is not an insult. I'm not some kind of Ben Shapiro saying rap is not music. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's more art than music. It's more conceptual, more avant-garde, more about an experience, more about a feeling than about the formal structure of music. And I would say the same thing is true about this concert. What is a concert? A concert is a public musical performance. This was public, but it was not a musical performance. You see, what I hated about old school hip-hop shows is, for the most part, it would just be somebody pressing play on an instrumental version of the track, and then the rap artist showing up and saying their lines over the album, with 3 or 4 guys waving around a towel behind them saying, yeah. This was the logical extension of that, to the point where Playboi Carti just played his album. It was just his album, and he wasn't even going along. He wasn't harmonizing. The person who was on stage, who we are going to assume was Playboi Carti, never exhibited any structure of harmony, no melody, and no rhythm. No real performance to be spoken of. He was virtually unseen for the entire show, always covered in fog and smoke, at best in a silhouette, and completely unheard. Unheard for a rap concert. Part of what makes rap concerts so difficult is there's so many words. Those guys have to remember so many things that they've said. I believe, and I counted, he has less than 25 words in the entire show. What he managed to do is make something that is the concert reflection of the music, the anti-concert of the anti-music. He recreated the feeling of listening to Playboi Carti, the passion, the menacing joy, the insouciance, the coolness, the darkness, the gothic darkness, all barriers of a traditional concert and all preconceived notions of what a concert should be that were already severely damaged by my previous experience with hip-hop concerts were completely dissolved and destroyed. And in that wonderful chaos, what took its place was what the kids today call, okay, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say this. I apologize. There's a chance that my kids are going to be watching this and their friends. I have to say it, a vibe. I feel like I like watching this concert helped me to really understand Zoomers better. It really did. It really did, because I felt this vibe. I very easily could have been folding my arms and talking about how when I saw Run DMC it was better and this and that and blah, blah, blah. But it was a vibe. I was totally transported into the world of Playboi Carti. The dark, funny, nerdy, macabre environment. I was totally sober. I'm a totally sober guy, basically. I didn't even feel like getting a wristband to have a beer. But I felt like I was high the entire time. It's not just because everyone was smoking around me. Like, you just felt like you were in this other world, in this vibe, in the world of King Vamp. I'm gonna get more into detail. But let's talk about the setup. Let's talk about actually going to the show. It was the longest line I've ever been in. Okay, Rochester's a pretty small city. I like to call it a minor league city. I mean, if you've ever enjoyed making copies or a photograph, you have Rochester, New York to thank for it, but those industries have largely left. So it's a minor league city, and so I've been to several concerts. This is the venue where I saw the Wu-Tang Clan, and I remember being as pretty small, but my son and I arrived there 20 minutes before the doors are set to open, and the line is like through the parking lot, around the block, into a little private street. The security guard said this is the longest line he's ever seen, and it is completely freezing. I don't know if you can get minor frostbite, but my toes still hurt. I did not feel my toes for the entire concert. One of my favorite bits was a security guy came up while we were in the back of the line and said, just so you know, Carti will not go on until you are inside. If you hear some music, that's just some DJs playing. Don't worry about that. You are not going to miss it. It was both funny and sad, because right now, especially in the enthusiastic, raging hip-hop field, the specter, the ghost of Astro World and all of its unnecessary deaths looms high. So it was this weird, funny thing of the security guard, you know, this like short 50-year-old white dude from Rochester acting like he's been talking to Carti, you know. Carti's not going to go on until you are in there. But at the same time, the sense of relief I felt, because I'm like, oh good, all these crazy people around me aren't going to rush me and trample my kid. A very weird, funny, sad, dark moment. We finally got in. We missed the opening act. We got to see Rico Nasty, who I guess everybody has been giving a lot of hell to. She was great. You know, she was fine. I only caught the end of her set. That was where I got a sense that this was going to be different, because she was doing what Playboi Carti would do, but with a little bit more effort. So there was a light on her. You could see her the entire time. She did just rap along to her album, but she did do most of the words. She could end up being great. I look forward to reviewing her next EP when it comes out. It was at this point that I was joined by my concert buddy. Now you might be thinking, my 16-year-old son is my concert buddy. I don't know if you've ever gone to a concert with a 16-year-old. No matter how sweet and kind they are, like my son is, you don't want to go. You don't want to go to a concert with your dad. I don't blame him. I mean, he wanted to go. He was sweet. He was happy to talk to me. But one of his friends went, and one of his friends is a father who's my age, who's the only other person I saw over the age of 35 in the entire venue. And so we were able to sit there and talk. Now what's great is that this guy is wicked smart. He actually is a professor of music, like at the college level. Okay, he has a full doctorate. So it was kind of funny, like being these two professors sitting here, you know, like one who really studies language and the other who really studies music. And his text to me this morning, I think, is a TLDR for this entire video. Enjoyed the show, even if it was mainly just Guantanamo interrogation music coming from a Grim Reaper who may or may not have been Playboi Carti. That's a little bit more glib than I'm going to be, but I think it's pretty accurate. And the most important part is, enjoyed the show. So this friend of mine, he was cool enough to go, humble enough to know that there's something that they don't get, you know? And we're both sitting there, we're both open-minded, but we're both Gen Xers. We both have this weird cognitive dissonance where part of us is just so happy to be here and appreciating and seeing young people loving music the way we love music. And then the other part of us, that what I call the boom Xer part, you know, the part of us that says things were better in our day, sees the way these kids do. I saw some kid crowd surfing while holding onto his phone and filming himself for TikTok or whatever, or for Instagram or for streaming or whatever. And I just was transplanted back to 35 years ago, not 35 years ago, whatever, 25 years ago, when I would have been in a mosh pit. And if I saw somebody with an electronics on there, I wouldn't do it, but I would know that someone else would grab that phone and smash it. You know, that's what I want. Like, I'm like, what are these Zoomers doing, filming themselves? When you do crowd surfing, when you do mosh pit, it's not for the gram, it's for the feeling. But for the most part, I wasn't really in that zone. For the most part, I was just enjoying seeing what I was seeing. One of the most interesting aspects was, so my son went off with his son, you know, and they were talking and they're friends. And so it was cool because I got to see them, you know, they're 20 feet away. I could still see them a little bit. And after Rico Nasty went on, all of a sudden, they're just playing music. And this was another Boom Extra moment because the music they're playing is just today's hottest hip-hop hits. So I was talking to my friend. I was like, hey, in my day, it used to be that bands would play for their in-between music the bands that they think are cool, right? Like my favorite example is Nirvana playing Flipper, right? Like Nirvana's just desperately trying to make Flipper a thing, and so they play it before they go on, so all of the kids who love Nirvana hear it and go, what's that? This was totally different. This was just a party. This was just a DJ party, and it was awesome. It was totally different, but it was awesome. And everybody had their phones on, and I hate how the phones. How does everyone have their phones? In my day, no one had phones. It was awesome. Seeing like 1,000 kids with their phones up, screaming their heads off, and at a certain point, my son, I just saw him just turn the switch and just started jumping up and down, you know, doing a little bit of slam dancing, and just made me so happy to see him enjoy himself. And I realized that like the songs in between the acts are just as important as the acts themselves. They're sitting there and they're singing along to Juice WRLD or Baby Keem, and they know all the words, and they're dancing and they're losing their minds. And it doesn't matter that the people aren't there. And we're sitting here and all of us old people are chewing on our nails and talking about how isolated all these young people are and how they have no sense of communal understanding and how they don't know how to get together and actually be in a space together. And I never, in a million years, when I was 20 years old, 16 years old, would have sat in a crowd with people while they were playing, I don't know, Whoa by Black Rob, and just jumped up and down and sang every word if the guy wasn't on the show. This was showing to me a much better sense of cohesion and social connectiveness than I ever experienced in my youth. So take that, you Xers, you boomers. The kids are all right. I want to talk a little bit about the venue. Rochester is great because every venue is messed up. Like because it was a great city 100 years ago and it's been in decline for like 50 years. This venue used to be an armory, and so like I'm gonna tell you about it. It felt like a gym and a church. Like if a gym and a church had a baby, that's what this place was. So I went to the bathroom, and all of the dividers and all of the walls are this ornate kind of Gothic wood. They put me right in the Playboi Carti headspace. It's like this weird ornate woodwork in a bathroom at a rap concert. And when I was going to the bathroom, I was in the stall. And I saw on the back of the toilet, totally splattered with urine, very unpleasant, play plastic glow-in-the-dark fangs. And the disgustingness of seeing something that you're supposed to put in your mouth on the back of a toilet, covered in urine, in a very gross place with beautifully decorated walls, felt to me very appropriate. That image of those vampire play teeth in that space felt to me like somebody was making art. They were trying to say, what is this concert that we're about to see? And that was it. So let's talk about the show. Let's talk about Playboi Carti when he finally... First of all, there was a fair chance he wasn't going to show up. We heard in line that at the Charlotte show, he showed up and just said, bad vibes, and left. You know, he might leave. He shows up. And again, I need to emphasize this. It would be ridiculously easy and better for my algorithm to tell you that this is not music, that this is not a concert. Totally easy. I could sit here and rant and I could red letter media this all the way home. But that would really be missing the point. Because once I gave in, and I gave in instantly. I mean, my defenses were like, the second that these like red lasers went on, I was totally in. And what's amazing is the stage show that he put forward. No spotlights, okay? No footlights. no stage lights, like a little bit of backlighting, and then these lasers up top. And that was it. To the point where you never were really, like, he just existed as this ghost who would sort of jump up. You couldn't see what his face looked like. You couldn't see what kind of clothing he was wearing. For much of the concert, you couldn't see him at all. I called this performance art, and I mean it. You know, I was thinking about his album, and I was actually talking about it with one of my students who apparently went to the show as well, and I was saying how, you know, like I don't know if he means to be this avant-garde. And then she correctly noted that that's probably just racism on my part. And it is. Of course he does. Of course he's learning from Kanye. Of course he's an artist who's creating this experience. This isn't just an artist who doesn't feel like doing a standard rap show. It's an artist who broke the rap show by making it so extreme. Let me give you an example. The opening song, Stop Breathing. By the way, very weird to have merch that says Stop Breathing on it when recently there is the merch of I Can't Breathe. With the audience being majority white, that was the smallest proportion of white people I've ever seen at a rap concert, so that was interesting and a positive sign. Like, mostly white people. I don't ever want to see any white people saying "stop breathing." It was a very weird piece of merch. But the song itself is weird. I take my shirt off and the women stop breathing. And I'm going to include a link to concert footage that I found online. Someone actually did it. You can see it here. And this is part of the show, and part of what I have to get over as a Boom Xer, as an old guy, is seeing all these phones. But it's contagious. I had to stop myself from filming. Like, I was there, but I had to stop myself from filming. And what you'll see if you watch this is the chaos, the joy, the noise, the freedom. You see him on and off. It's just the song being played. What's his addition? Yeah! That's it. Ah! That's it. That's all he's doing. Ah! He's just not talking. And what if it's not him? Is that him? Maybe it's not him. At the end of the show, there's a very angry man. A very angry man. I don't think he got the memo that the crowd was supposed to be stoned and not drunk. You know, if you have to choose one, go with the stoned crowd. It's still annoying, but at least they're not belligerent. This guy was just running around, basically taking people, like, it wasn't Playboi Carti. It wasn't even him. Soylent Green is made out of people. You know, he was just trying to tell everybody, and nobody cared. And that's part of the beauty. I don't think it actually matters. Like, this experience was so weird and transcendent and so in line with the divine bizarreness of Playboi Carti as an artist that it doesn't even matter if it wasn't him. This reminded me of my first and best rap concert I've ever seen, the first Kanye concert I ever saw, not the first rap concert, where he was wearing that mask over his face and people just kept screaming to take it off because they didn't know if it was really him. What if it was lip syncing? What if it wasn't him? Now, it was him, but that mystery, same thing with the listening parties, is all a part of it. And it's at this point where I have to talk about Kanye. The merch, obviously, you see behind me, Vamp security, very much like the Donda security design merch for listening parties. The whole thing felt like the listening parties in a real way, except listening parties had no microphone, so that was a difference, and we didn't know the songs. What's interesting here is that he has the whole songs and a microphone, and he's just screaming. And it becomes like a couple of things. He becomes, instead of the rapper who's in the front, he becomes like the guy in the back. You know, Capadonna waving around the flag, finishing the last line of everything that Method Man says, right? And it also reminded me of like a DJ set, you know? So if you ever watch a DJ or listen to DJ on the radio, DJ Robotics, you know? Like that kind of annoying stop interrupting the music, except instead of it being some other guy, it was the guy who made the music, who's interrupting his own music to just make guttural sounds. He was a one-man hype man and DJ and MC of his own performance. And all of these barriers just fly. They just go away. It's almost a listening party. It's almost a DJ set. It's almost a radio set. It's almost sitting around in the basement listening to music with your friends. You're at home, you're in public. It feels all that same way. And it all emphasizes and builds into this communal aspect where we're all here and we're all listening, but like, we know the words. Does it matter? Does it matter if he's up there? Does it? It doesn't. It doesn't matter if he was even there, because we were just as happy singing Range Bros and jumping up and down. What I was amazed about, I was so nervous about this show. Really nervous about this show. I have kind of bad memories of the scene at the Wu-Tang show that I saw there. And my son is young, and the whole thing, Astro World happened. And I just thought that all Playboi Carti fans were just toxic jerks. Like, I just kind of got that kind of Rick and Morty vibe off of them, you know? But it was like a They Might Be Giants concert. It was like everybody was just nerdy and happy and just light and okay, whatever, half of them were stoned, but that wasn't the point of it. You know, it wasn't people trying to get blitzed and be messed up. It was this weird, almost cult-like feeling of all being together and celebrating this music where so many of these lyrics are violent and angry and bizarre and obsessed with death and blood, but it didn't really matter. Like, the music didn't, like, the words didn't matter. What mattered is that we knew all the music. And this weird vampire cult presence, Grim Reaper, as my friend said, is just up there, and it's just beautiful. And I think you see that in the video. I hope you see that in the video. I know you won't. What am I saying? You have to be there. You have to go to the show. Don't go to the show expecting to see music. Go to the show expecting to see Playboi Carti, and it's going to be amazing. The second song was Rockstar Made, and in this, they just repeat over and over again the lines, never too much, never too much. And I love this, because that's the sense that I get. Never too much, never too much. It was at this point I realized how funny it was to be here in the presence of somebody who literally has a doctorate in music. And it's like this just grating sound and just blaring, as he called Guantanamo music. I came up with a metaphor. It'd be like if I was invited to a French poetry contest where nobody was like speaking French with any proper conjugation. You know, I'd be like, this is great poetry and this is interesting ideas. That's not how you conjugate. That's not how you conjugate the verb être. That kind of great breakdown really added to my experience because I was with somebody in a like mindset who was able to just say, okay, what do my kids like? This? I like it. The third song had his first words of the entire concert. 3 songs in, and it's mother effer. That's his first word. He wasn't there on stage for most of that song. The audience isn't there. You know, he's not there. The audience isn't there. None of us are there. We're all there. We're all looking like when he's not on stage, the audience doesn't know what to do, and they start sort of looking at each other. And these weird impromptu mosh pits and breakdancing centers pop up all over the place. And it's sort of like a rave, I guess. And it's sort of like a DJ set, but we don't quite know. And it's like, why is there a stage? What? As my nephew said after getting off his first ride at Disney World, why did we just do that? You know, why am I here? What's going on? Did we all pay $80 to listen to an album we already have with a bunch of other people? Yes, we did. The next song is called Bump Out the Goose. That's what my phone auto-corrected to. I was taking notes during the concert, my reading glasses on, you know, like a real nerd. And so the song Jump Out the House was auto-corrected to Bump Out the Goose. And this is why you need to be there, because every once in a while, with restraint, they turn up the bass to the point where your chest, like your chest is like, I don't like this. You know that I've got your heart in here, right? Like your lungs and stuff. I don't know what kind of things you're trying to do to me, but you're just, and the way my son said it was that the skin on his nostrils were going. Then they played Off the Grid, Grid, the Kanye song, with Kanye's verse. Kanye wasn't there. Was Playboi Carti there? Does it matter? What is the difference between Kanye's performance being played over the speakers and Playboi Carti's performance being played over the speakers? What is the real difference between Kanye's presence and Playboi Carti's presence? This is art. This is really awesome art. And it really is playing around with a lot of these questions of authenticity and place and space and physicality and the nature of the artist and the role of the author in the art and the role of the audience in the art. All these things are being played out, you know? I mean, okay, you know, you save your money and you go see, I don't know, a band that plays super, Fish. Right? They play super well and they're amazing, and I have nothing against them as a band, you know? And you'll see some really great musicianship and some really great playing and great exhaustiveness. But this is not even trying to be that. It is so avant-garde. As we have this figure up there who is sort of obscure, opaque, inhuman, superhuman, the next word that he will say in the concert after Mother Effer is bleed. And that's his whole vampire theme, darkness, funny and goofy. And this is a theory I have. Playboi Carti fans joke about Playboi Carti actually being a vampire. Like a real vampire. Like vampires exist and he is one of them. I am going to admit, on camera, I sort of... Okay, realist. Some part of me, some non-insignificant part of me, actually believes that he is an actual vampire. I understand. I am not saying it's logical. If I were to be asked, is he a vampire or not? No, of course, he's just a human being. But his ability to transmit this vibe is so effective that I assume that most Playboi Carti fans are kind of like me, but who would just say, of course, he's not a vampire. It's just ridiculous. But then Party is like, yeah, but I mean, but maybe. Around here is the point in the concert where this guitarist comes in. The only other musician here, I have no idea what this guy looks like. Just a silhouette. And he's playing like black metal. Sometimes he's playing over arpeggiated other guitar lines. Other times he's just grinding these great lines. And it gives into this whole heavy metal feel. Remember I told you the first rap concert I went to was Public Enemy? Well, they were playing with Anthrax. And they understood that for live performances, mixing together heavy metal really works well with rap because you get into that energy, that kind of aggressive energy that goes really well between them. It doesn't go as well in the studio albums, but live, heavy metal energy really helps hip-hop music. That's what Public Enemy figured out. That's what Playboi Carti figured out. And that's by having this guy who actually, this isn't even in my notes, I'm coming up with it right now, he's like the guy in Mad Max. You know the guitarist from Mad Max who's out front, he's playing the guitar? Like this whole concert feels a little bit like a Mad Max fever dream with all the aesthetics and the darkness and the dirtiness and the grunchiness and just having this guy just jump. Next song is called Sky. Maybe not the next song. I lost track of all the songs. I don't know the song names for that matter. But one thing I liked about Sky, you know, that's one of his biggest hits. I saw this guy dancing, and he was recording it with his phone. And this really helped me to better understand this generation of Zoomer millennials. Zoomers, I guess. It's not getting in the way. This guy was recording, and then he started dancing. He was like doing, like you know, little spins and stuff. And he was getting down and really dancing. He just happened to be recording. He wasn't going to let the recording get in the way of a good time. But he also wasn't going to let his good time get in the way of the recording. I think more old people like myself understood that. We'd be a little bit less pissed going to concerts and seeing all those screens. One more thing though. Thank God for password protection. You know? Because there's no point in stealing a phone. There's just no point. You can't get anything out of it. Because when I look at it, I think about the way I used to be in concerts where I'd like keep money in my sock and stuff. I was always afraid of getting robbed. And people just holding up these $500 to $1,000 objects just very loosely in a crowd full of people where you could easily just, knock them out and grab the phone and run. But thanks to password protection, nothing can be done. Around here, I took a note that just says, Carti keeps Kanye young. And I think because they played the Go to the Moon, I do think there's a wonderful relationship, a symbiotic relationship between... vampire. Symbiotic relationship between Kanye and Playboi, where really, Playboi Carti, the 25-year-old, is giving the Professor Sky-year-old, Kanye and I are the same age, really giving him a lot of good exposure to younger people and keeping him very, very cool by being on his projects. At the same time, I think Kanye is showing Playboi Carti how to be more than a rap star, how to be an avant-garde artist. And I love it because a lot of people have taken Kanye's musical leads, and a lot of people have taken his fashion leads. But it's nice seeing someone take forward the, like, questioning what is a performance, questioning what is an artist. I think Playboi Carti is really doing that. And it may be overlooked because he's doing it in a way where he's not making it clear that he knows he's doing it. That's going back to that old racist thing of assuming that he doesn't know. I think he does. He's not talking about it. He's too busy killing people and drinking their blood for life force. In between songs is probably my favorite musical moments of the entire show. This odd vocalizing that Playboi Carti was doing with this heavy metal guitar and almost like throat singing. Like I just leaned over to my friend and I just screamed, "This is effing wild!" Because it was just so wild. Like, this is the point I'm just so lost. Like, what am I, why are they doing this? What am I hearing? A couple problems with the show. Number one problem, my favorite thing about Playboi Carti is Jamie Foxx's, the Jamie Foxx quote in Pierre Bourne's producer tag. Pierre, you want to come out here? I just missed that. I didn't hear a single Pierre Bourne song here. And my son was very disappointed that they did not play Metamorphosis, and I am as well. That's my favorite song. That's our favorite song. They didn't play it. Some more random thoughts. Why even get close to the stage when he isn't there most of the time? Like, there isn't really a stage. It's so decentralized. I think Andy Warhol would like this very much, what he's seeing here. I think this is a very Warholian experience, a sort of exploding plastic inevitable happening where it's like visual and it's art, and we're really questioning what is the nature of art and reproduction, and just at a certain point, like, you just feel like you are Playboi Carti. Like, the difference between me and him is not much because I can't see him and I'm here and he's lost in a fog and it's too loud and I don't know all the words, but he says all the words over and over again, so I'm just kind of chanting. Jump out the house, jump out the house, jump out the house. What did my computer say it was called? Boom out the... What was it called again? What did my computer correct that to? Ah, bump out the goose. Bump out the goose, bump out the goose, bump out the goose. I do have merch now. I think Bump Out the Goose would be good merch. Let me know in the comments if you agree. I could just do it in that font. Then he gets a little bit more chatty. So about 3/4 of the way through, he starts talking more. He just says the words rock star. And then he starts to actually say some of his lyrics. I just close my eyes and then just trails off. There's a song where he says, I'm a rock star like Hendrix. And I did a funny thing unintentionally before going to the show. I'm teaching my daughter how to play guitar. I'm teaching her how to play the opening riff to Don't Let Me Down. Right? And that includes a hammer-on, and she'd never done a hammer-on before. You know, that's where you pluck once, but you are able to make two notes, like that. And I was trying to explain to her how a musician can play with just one hand. A good guitarist can play just one hand. So I went and I showed her some Hendrix clips. First one from the Hawaii show, which, don't watch that show. It's not a very good one. And then I went to the Atlanta show. That's one of his better shows. It's on YouTube. And just watching him play the solo off of Purple Haze, one hand up there. And I realized how funny it was that I was going to be going from watching Jimi Hendrix in concert to Playboi Carti. And it would be easy to say that they are the opposite. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix was a virtuoso. You will never be able to see somebody play guitar that well, ever. Ever in the rest of humanity, there will never be a human being who plays guitar as well as Jimi Hendrix, or even close. I'm saying that with absolute certainty, and we get to have footage of it, and we get to see it, and the virtuosity of it, and the ease, and the complete mastery over a very difficult instrument, versus somebody who just press play and goes, ah! But I don't think they're different. Because really what a concert should do is help you to experience the music in person. That's the point. You need to experience, Jesus, that's an unintentional pun. You need to experience Jimi Hendrix. You need to experience Playboi Carti. And if Playboi Carti went up there and had the Roots backing him, and he rapped every single line and did some kind of unplugged stuff, it wouldn't feel like Playboi Carti. Some more lines that he said, so just to make sure my hot take is clear, Playboi Carti is a better musician than Jimi Hendrix. I'm sorry, that's a joke. I'm gonna have a sip of my hot honey water after that hot take. He did keep on saying stand up, which is funny because there's no seats in the venue. I mean, I've been standing, I waited in line in the cold of Rochester for like an hour to get in. And I needed to stay standing to hopefully get some feeling back in my feet. And then at one point he just said, I love you all. And I actually believed it. And then the final song happened. He put his hands up and it was done. Lights up. No encore, no hint of an encore. The crowd didn't even start chanting Carti. The crowd was done. The show was done, the crowd was done. I've never in my life seen a concert where the concert was over and the crowd didn't keep on saying Carti, whatever. Everyone always wants more, even if it's a second encore. Bruce Springsteen comes out and plays 5 of his albums, and then he takes a break and then plays 3 more of his albums, then he takes a break and does an encore of the entire Ring Cycle by Wagner, and at the end there's still people sitting there saying, Bruce, Bruce, Bruce. Playboi Carti played a very short set, left on a song that was kind of a downer. It wasn't even one of his big hits. I think the last lines were like, I wish I would die. And that was it. And everyone got up, and then the lights came on. And there's all this smoke everywhere. I took like a 3-minute video of this just because I found it so interesting. Of all the people just leaving the pit. And they're all happy. And they're all tired. And some of them, you know, appear like maybe a little bruised and sweaty. And it's like, it felt to me like that scene in with the flares in Apocalypse Now. You know, I love the smell of napalm in the morning or whatever. Like the flares and the smoke and all around. It just had this bizarre, otherworldly, heavenly feeling. It did have sort of a heaven feeling after the hell feeling of the concert. I will just throw a couple more notes here on taking my son. When I said I was going to the concert, someone said, it's weird that you're taking your son. I'm very glad that I did. I'm just going to give myself some super dad points. You know, the fact that I'm going at all, and this is a piece of advice for all of you. Most of you watching don't have kids yet. When you have kids, be like Professor Sky. When your kids like some music, immediately assume that it's great. Immediately assume that the music is just as good as the music you liked when you were younger. Start from there. Make the music prove to you that it's bad. Because once you hit 25 years old, you start listening to new music and you hear it and you go, this can't be good. So I'll give myself a bit of credit in that. It was awesome waiting in line. It was terrible watching him go away, you know, like off with his friend, because I wanted to sit there the whole time. And he's like, oh, Dad, can you hold on to my sweatshirt? And I just realized I just reached peak dad. Just like standing in the back of a concert, holding on to a sweatshirt. I never thought I'd be there, but you should be so lucky as to be there. I secretly went off and bought him this t-shirt, you know, this merch, and I hid it inside of his sweatshirt. So when we got out of the concert and he put on a sweatshirt, he's like, what's in my hand? I was like, the whole concert was a birthday gift to him. It's like, happy birthday. And he was just so happy. And he just loved the show. Like, he loved it. He thought it was like the greatest thing. He was like totally into it, completely lost. Everything that I just described, the feeling that it had to me in sort of the more intellectual sphere, it had on him in the spiritual sphere. You know, because the music made for him. It's not made for me. I enjoy it, but you know what I'm saying, right? And it's like, and I had this joy of like watching my son in a certain way become a man, or at least become his own person, you know, like taking on his own tastes and feeling the bittersweet joy of that. But at the same time, like his happiness and his joy, it was like I was watching him building like a new Star Wars Lego set, you know? It was like this great thing that music can do, where it can make you like your own person, but it can also just break down so many barriers and just allow you to just be so happy and enraptured by what you've just seen. So there's my review of the Playboi Carti anti-concert. Go see it if you can. If you don't like the music, go see it for the same reason that you should go and see, you know, the same reason that my grandparents saw the Velvet Underground in West Virginia, okay? My grandparents, who were like 50 years old in 1967, went to go see the Velvet Underground with their daughter and my dad And it must have been very confusing, but they must have been able to understand on some level, this is where the art is. Bump out the goose. All right, bump on the goose? Is it bump out the goose or bump out the goose? Bump out the goose, everybody. There's the camera.